Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is May 16th, 2025. And today we're going to be covering Barcelona's celebrations after becoming La Liga champions. Also, Hansi Flick reportedly called Jonathan Tah. I'm going to tell you why. And finally, Laporta announcing his candidacy for the 2026 Barcelona elections. We have a lot to discuss. So let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo. This is the Barca News live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where not only do we discuss Barcelona news, but we also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering your questions, and getting the discussion going. For those of you who will be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. All this helps this channel continue to grow. If y'all looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure to Goal Kits, Kickback, or Fanatics. If y'all looking to place any sports bets, make sure to bet us. All links are down below in the description. Click on them and get access to some pretty cool deals and offers. All right, let's begin the news because, ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona have been celebrating since yesterday after defeating Espanyol 0-2 in their own stadium and becoming La Liga champions for the 28th time in our history. And as you saw during the images after the match, of course, the players were not able to celebrate on the field because immediately the staff at the Espanyol Stadium turned on the sprinklers. Plus, either way, Hansi Flick had said before the match that he did not want the players to celebrate because we all remember what happened 2 seasons ago when Barcelona clinched La Liga title at Espanyol Stadium. We all remember the fans invading the pitch trying to hurt the players. So Flick, before the match, he had already told the players to go into the tunnel. And even yesterday after the match, we were seeing Flick yelling at the players to go into the tunnel because, of course, he didn't want a repeat of what happened 2 years ago. But don't worry because, of course, the team did celebrate in the locker room. Barcelona actually have released several videos on their social media outlets of the players celebrating together, celebrating with Flick, celebrating with Joan Laporta. I would share those videos with you, but, of course, last time I shared a video from one of Barcelona's social media outlets, my video got flagged for copyrights. They ended up taking my money, but that's okay. It's a donation for Barcelona. Hopefully they use it to sign an important player. Now, the cool thing yesterday that during the celebration, of course, one player who was key during the season was missing, which was no other than Ferran Torres. And it's reported that Íñigo Martínez, acting like the captain that he is, a captain without a captain bracelet, called Ferran Torres on video, and actually Ferran Torres got to celebrate with the entire squad, even though he was at the hospital, because as you know, Ferran Torres had to undergo surgery to remove his appendix for an appendicitis. He wasn't able to play in yesterday's match. He wasn't able to celebrate with the team yesterday in the locker room, so Íñigo Martínez calling him over video, and of course, he got to celebrate with the players through video, which of course, it is a shame because after all, Ferran Torres did play an important role in the team's victory during the season. But at least he gets to, celebrate it through video. Now, the cool thing about yesterday and something that we kind of glossed over because we were so happy about the win was that Pedri was actually celebrating his 200th match yesterday. 200 match for Pedri, who's only 21 years old. I mean, if he stays at Barcelona for the rest of his career, this guy's going to end up playing like 1,000 matches. And let's not forget, last season he was getting injured every other week. And the fact that he reached 200 matches just goes to show how amazing Pedri has been and how many matches he's played for us, despite being at the club for such a short period of time. And then what a way to celebrate 200 matches. I mean, to celebrate your 200th match by winning La Liga title, I think that was pretty cool. But celebration continued for a few hours in the locker room inside the Espanyol Stadium. And then, of course, from there, the players did head back to the Ciudad Esportiva, which is where they train. That's usually where they have away matches, where they arrive, they park their cars, and then they take the bus. So the players, of course, after celebrating at the Espanyol Stadium, they headed back to the Ciudad Esportiva in the team's bus. And guess what? Celebrations continued on the bus. And Alejandro Valde actually did a live from the bus that he shared with all of his Instagram followers. I'm not obviously going to share the entire live with you. I think it was like an hour long or something like that. But I will share a funny section. Now, to put into context what Alejandro Valde is talking about, which of course I will translate because it is in Spanish, is that during the summer, all of you know already that the program of El Chiringuito is kind of like a Real Madrid mouthpiece, or Florentino Perez's mouthpiece. They're always talking garbage on there. But in the summer, when Real Madrid signed Mbappe, all the people on Chiringuito were talking about how, it's over for everybody, not just Barcelona, but for everybody. It was over because, of course, this was going to be Kylian Mbappe's league because Real Madrid already had a winning project. They had Vinicius, Bellingham, Rodrigo, etc., and they had just signed Mbappe. So it was for sure over for everybody. And they said that by December, Real Madrid was going to be 15 points ahead of everyone else, and that they were going to clinch La Liga before it was even over. And well, Alejandro Valde remembered that from El Chiringuito's program, and of course had to fire some shots back. Now, this is what Alejandro Valde said during his live. I will turn it on. Of course, I will translate for you because it is in Spanish. But this was on the bus, on the team's bus, on the way back to the ciudad.
¿Cómo era en diciembre que decían?
Wait, what was it?
¿Qué es lo que decían en diciembre?
What were they saying in December? How many points?
A 15 puntos en diciembre.
15 points in December. So Valde fired shots back at Chiringuito, who said by December they would be 15 points. Real Madrid would be 15 points ahead of Barcelona. So Alejandro Valde teasing them, not letting them forget that not only were they not 15 points ahead, but we ended up winning La Liga, the Spanish Super Cup, and the Copa del Rey, two of them at the expense of Real Madrid, defeating them in both finals. Now, the celebrations went from the stadium, on the bus, and then they continued because guess who was spotted celebrating on the streets? It was no other than Marc Casado, who decided to go to Canaletas to celebrate with all the fans who had congregated there to celebrate Barcelona's win. And this is a video of Marc Casado celebrating with regular Barcelona fans. He is surrounded by members of the Barcelona Ultras, of course, some high-ranking Barcelona Ultras who took it upon themselves to protect the player from all the fans and everybody who wanted to take pictures of him. But ladies and gentlemen, this is what it looks like to have players from the academy. I mean, these players grew up their whole life in the club. They grew up in the academy. I mean, there are just like anyone else, just like another fan. They celebrate the victories just like the rest of us fan. They hurt when we lose. And well, here's Marc Casado heading to the streets of Barcelona, celebrating with the fans as he's being escorted by members of the Barcelona Ultra. Now, it's reported that after that, the players did head to a local club where they continued the celebrations until the early hours of the morning. In fact, they had training today, and Hansi Flick had to cancel the training because the players celebrated the entire night. There were actually fans at the Ciudad Esportiva that had congregated. So when the bus arrived, the players were chanting, dancing, singing with the fans as well. And then from there, they went to the club. But they celebrated pretty much the whole night. And then, of course, today was the championship parade as Barcelona celebrated their 3 trophies. There we see the bus with, of course, La Liga, the Copa del Rey, and the Spanish Super Cup. The bus drove 4 hours through the city of Barcelona, where it's being reported that more than 678,000 people headed to the street to celebrate Barcelona's historic season. And of course, as I said yesterday during the post-match live analysis, it's a historic season not because of the trophies we've won. We've won those trophies plenty of times, but how this team was able to rise from its own ashes in such a short period of time. You know, we're talking about a team that was in shambles last season, and yet only in a few months, Hansi Flick was able to transform this team into the best team in Europe with no resources, no signings, no financial fair play, nothing. And Barcelona not only has become the best team in Europe, but it's also become a team with a recognizable identity, an identity that anybody can see it, they can clearly see it, an identity that the team has stuck to no matter what happened, whether we were winning, we were losing, we were drawing, whether it was during that crash in form during the months of November and December. Barcelona always stuck to their identity, to the vision that Hansi Flick implemented, and while they now reap the rewards by taking home 3 trophies. It could have been 4, but unfortunately, luck wasn't on our side. But hopefully next season, we will be able to make it at least to the Champions League final, because I think this team is capable of it. And even though we didn't make it to the final, I still truly believe that this team is the best team in Europe, and it's the most entertaining in Europe, undoubtedly, thanks to the identity and the vision that Flick has instilled. And of course, thanks to the players who believed in that vision and carried it out every single match. By the way, how cold is this picture with Kunde and Dani Olmo and Rafinha with their sunglasses? Pedri in the back looking goofy as hell. I feel like Pedri always looks goofy as hell, but hey, who am I to call Pedri goofy? After all, he is the best midfielder in the entire world. And then, of course, we are going to discuss Hansi Flick's statements after the match. But before doing that, let's head to the comment section and see what everyone is saying. We have Christopher Johnson, who says it's great to be here after a very successful season. Barcelona all the way. Amen, my friend. Yes, I do agree. It is really good to be celebrated Barcelona season after what we've been going through all these past seasons, from all the disasters in Europe, crashing out at the heads of Liverpool, or the 8-2 against Bayern, or 2 seasons in a row where we didn't even make it past the group stages. We got eliminated by Eintracht and Manchester United. I mean, it's been disaster after disaster since the departure of Luis Enrique. So it's finally good to see not only a team that's competitive, not only a team that's capable of winning trophies, but of course, a team that's young and that, well, they're here for a while. They're going to be dominant in Europe for many, many years to come because of how young this team is. And that, of course, does fill me with lots and lots of hope. All right. Nathan Ford says, hi, Mo. If Barca are able to make 300 million euros or more, how much will they be able to spend on the transfer market for reinforcing the squad? I hope they change the 25-26 kit design. That's a good question. And it's all going to depend on whether Barcelona will be under the 1-1 rule or not. As I said many times before, or as I've explained many times before, we're not going to know what our financial fair play is going to look like until June 30th. That's when the fiscal year ends. That's when all the clubs will turn over their paperwork to La Liga. La Liga reviews the paperwork and then tells every club what their wage limit is, and of course, under which rule are they? Are they under the 1-1 rule, where for every euro you make, you can spend the entire euro on a signing, on whether it's going to be a different rule? Like, for example, for a while, we were under the 1-4 rule. That means if Barcelona made 100 million, they would only be able to use 25 million to sign players. So if we made 300 million, which that's not going to be the case, the forecast was that we were going to make 5 or 6 million in profits at the end of this fiscal year. Of course, we have exceeded many of the forecasts. For example, in the Champions League, we went a lot further than initially anticipated. We thought Barcelona always budget that the team will make it to the quarterfinals. We made it to the semifinals, so we made more money. Plus, the new format of this Champions League also helped us make more money. The fact that we won La Liga, the Copa del Rey, the Spanish Super Cup, all that meant that Barcelona have exceeded their initial forecast. Also, the merchandising, Barcelona have sold a lot more merchandise than they initially forecasted. But of course, we also have losses because Barcelona had budgeted that we would go back to the Spotify Camp Nou, which didn't happen. So that meant a lot of losses because, of course, we don't make as much money at the Olympic Stadium as we do at Camp Nou. So we're going to have to wait and see what the final fiscal year will look like, how much more money Barcelona made than initially forecasted, how much money more they spent or lost than initially forecasted, and then we'll know, A, how much profits did we make, which, again, the initial forecast was 5 to 6 million euros, so those 300 million euros, forget about it. And B, we're going to have to wait which rule are we under. If we're under the 1-1 rule and we theoretically make 300 million, which we're not, we would be able to spend the full 300 million. If we're under the 1-2 rule, we'd only be able to spend 150, right? And so on and so forth. But we're going to have to wait and find out. But don't expect 300 million euro profits. No way. Java the Hat says, I know it's a long shot, but I think next season or the season after, Barca should go for Julian Alvarez. He's the best replacement as our number 9. And then Santiago Sturba, member of the channel, says, I agree about Julian Alvarez. Look, I would love to have Julian Alvarez of Barcelona. I wanted Barcelona to sign him last summer, but of course, there was no money, no financial fair play. Is it going to happen? Absolutely not. I think we have a better shot of signing Maradona, who's already dead, than we do of signing Julian Alvarez, because it's just not going to happen, right? Atletico Madrid just signed him. He just became their most important player, and they're definitely not going to turn around and be like, all right, let's go sell him to someone else, right? The only way that they would have to sell him is if somehow, some way he forced his way out. If he told Atletico, okay, I want to leave and you better let me leave, which I don't see that happening. But even if it does, expect Atletico Madrid to want, 150 million, which we simply cannot afford. And Amos says, I appreciate Barcelona for their hard work, but they need more to do for upcoming season. I mean, there is obviously things to work on. There is some details that the team needs to work on, but that's the thing with a project, projects take time. It takes time for the players to adapt to their new system. It takes time for the players to not only adapt individually to the new system, but to adapt as a team to the new system. We're gonna need some reinforcements, et cetera, et cetera. We're gonna need to learn from mistakes, but that's how projects go. It takes time to perfect things. It takes time to fix mistakes. Of course, there is room to improve, but that's not going to happen overnight. And the fact that we won 3 trophies and we were we're only 3 minutes away from making it to the final of the Champions League. I mean, that says a lot. That speaks volume that this project, despite being very young, very inexperienced, and being in its first year, was able to do all of these things. That means that this only going to get better, right? This is only going to get better as these players get older, they mature, they're going to get better. As they spend more time playing together, they're going to get better because they're going to develop more chemistry. As Flick spends more time with this team, he's going to get better because he's going to learn about his players more. He's going to learn about his tactics, about what works and what doesn't work, depending on the profile of these players. And of course, as the team makes reinforcements, as they make signings, it's only going to get better. And if we already were able to accomplish so much during our first season, you can only imagine how much better this team will become and how much more we'll be able to accomplish as seasons go by and as this team continues to improve. All right, let's get back to the news because we do have to talk about Hansi Flick. Of course, the Barcelona coach did have some words after Barcelona clinching the Liga title yesterday at Cornellà. And this was the first thing that the German coach mentioned, which was, of course, describing the unity of the team and everything that the team has been through. He said, I feel like we're one big family. Everyone is focused, passionate, and driven. That's what made the difference this season. The atmosphere here is special. Everyone supports each other, which I never seen before. I think the second half of the season has been incredible. We haven't lost a single game. I congratulate the team, the club, and the fans. It's been incredible. Now, Hansi Flick brings up 2 points that I want to focus on. Of course, the first one is talking about how close this team is. And I think that has been very, very evident all throughout the season, whether it's how they celebrated wins, how they celebrate goals, or how they celebrate championships. I think it's very, very clear that Hansi Flick has been able to bring this locker room very close and build this kind of family-like relationship between the players and between him and the players. And I think that has been very key for the success of the team because, after all, like I said, the reason for Barcelona have been able to create this identity is because they believed in it, right? They believed in Hansi Flick's vision and they've been able to apply that vision. And the only way you can apply this kind of vision and stick to it, because remember, Barcelona went through some bad times this season too, whether it was the death with Dr. Minarro, whether it was the 2 months where the team was just going through a very bad form, dropping points left and right. They still stuck through it, through thick and thin. And the only way to do that is by sticking together and by believing in the vision together as a whole. And we've seen that time and time again. And that has also been key. It's not just Flick's vision and strategy, but also the fact that how close-knit this locker room has become under the guidance of Hansi Flick. And then, of course, Hansi Flick mentioned something that I had completely glossed over because I guess in my happiness with all the trophies and anything, but Barcelona have not lost a single game all the second half of the season. And that is pretty incredible. Barcelona are completely undefeated in 2025 in La Liga. Of course, we did suffer the defeat in the Champions League at the hands of Inter Milan, which meant that we were no longer undefeated in all competitions. But in La Liga, Barcelona remained undefeated. And that is pretty amazing, especially how bad we ended last year with all those points that we dropped in November and December. And then the team was able to bounce back and Hansi Flick was able to kind of like remotivate these players. And since the new year, Barcelona have not lost a single match in La Liga, Copa, or the Spanish Super Cup. And that's pretty amazing. Now, Hansi Flick was also asked about overall what his impressions were of the season and the performance of the team. And this is what the German coach had to say. Making Wojciech Szczesny the starting keeper was hard. Iñaki Peña handled it well, but it wasn't easy. Also, we missed Dr. Minarro, who is not with us today, but he'll always be part of this family. We'll keep working to get better. Now, I want you to focus on that sentence because, of course, I'm going to talk about it a little bit more. But he says, we'll keep working to get better. It's time to celebrate. This is for the fans. The matches against Madrid were highlights, but this title belongs to everyone. I mean, this guy is he's crazy. This guy is crazy. I mean, we're talking about He just won 3 titles in his first season. And the first thing he can think about is that we need to get better. I mean, this is pretty much Hansi Flick in a nutshell. And we talked about this a lot before whenever he had the post-match press conferences and Barcelona had just finished a match winning 4-0 or 5-0 or 7-0 or had just finished, humiliating Real Madrid or Bayern Munich or some big team. And Hansi Flick would just kind of be like, we made mistakes. We need to fix them. And here we're talking about you just won 3 trophies in your first season, and the first thing that comes out of his mouth is like, we need to get better. And that's pretty much it sums up Hansi Flick's mentality. I mean, this guy is just hungry for perfection. He strives for perfection. And no matter how good the team does, he always thinks that it can be done better. And that's the kind of coach that we need for a team like Barcelona or for a club as big as Barcelona. Because a team like Barcelona that aims to be competitive, that aims to win it all, always needs to be looking to improve. Because the moment you stop looking to improve, the moment you become complacent, it's over. Because everyone else out there is also looking for perfection. Everyone else is out there is looking to win the same trophy you're going after. And if you stop trying, if you become complacent, it's over. And that's not Flick. No matter how well the team does, no matter how many victories, no matter how many trophies, Flick always wants to make things better. And this is the kind of coach that Barcelona needs. This is the kind of coach that we've been needing since the departure of Luis Enrique. And this season, this season, I would say, or even in the last 5 years, the best signing that Barcelona has made has not been a player, but it has been Hansi Dieter Flick. All right, let's do some comment section. And then we are going to talk about Jonathan Tah because, ladies and gentlemen, Hansi Flick did call the German defender. And I'm going to tell you why and what did they talk about. By the way, we do have the match against Villarreal on Sunday. They've already announced that the referee, it's going to be Munuera Montero. Villarreal, it's not going to be an easy match. Villarreal is going to come out swinging. They're fighting for a Champions League spot. So they're not going to be looking to, just go out there and kick the ball around. They're going to be looking for a victory. And I don't know how motivated our team will be. The season's pretty much over. We won all 3 titles. We're out of the Champions League. So I don't know how motivated the players will be, but it's not going to be an easy match. Villarreal is going to come out full swing. We'll see what happens. I mean, hopefully we get a victory so we can maintain that undefeated second half of the season. But, I mean, if we don't, I'm not going to be like here cursing everybody out. And I mean, at the end of the day, we are champions. But all right, let's see. Zach Urban says, hey, Mo, Nico versus Rashford versus Lookman. Which one would you prefer? Rashford, I've always said I wouldn't sign him on a permanent transfer. I think, I made that very clear on many occasions. Not because I don't believe in his talent. I think when Rashford is fully focused, he is one of the most lethal attackers in Europe. But the problem is that he's very rarely focused, right? And he's very, very inconsistent. So Rashford right there, by process of elimination, he's out. So it becomes to Nico versus Lookman. I like Lookman a lot, but Nico does have a big edge over Lookman, and it's his age, right? Nico is 20 or 21 years old. Lookman is 28, if I'm not mistaken. So Lookman now he's in his prime, and pretty soon he's going to be doing this, right? Because that's what all players do. They get better. They enter their prime, and then whoop, and they start declining. So Lookman is right there. He's at the top. He's in his prime. These are his best years. Pretty soon, the decline is going to begin, right? It's just how it is, right? You cannot fight aging. You cannot fight time. Nico, on the other hand, he's still doing this, right? He's only 21 years old. He's still improving. He has a higher ceiling than Lookman does. Plus, Nico Williams is very familiar with the Barcelona players. He plays with them in the Spanish national team. He's won the Euros with them, right? He's very good friends with Balde. He's very good friends with Lamine Yamal. So not only is he younger and has a higher ceiling, and he would fit more in Barcelona because A, he's been playing in La Liga for years, where Lookman would be playing in a brand new league. And B, he's been playing with a lot of the Barcelona players for years. So he would be a better fit. So overall, age, ceiling, fit. It's an easy option. It's Nico Williams. Plus, Lookman would cost more because initially, Atalanta were thinking 30 million would let him go. But then when they saw all these clubs going after him, now they want to activate the option. They have a unilateral option that allows him to extend his contract by another year. So they want to activate that unilaterally. Why? So they can ask for more money. And it's reported like that they want to ask for 70 million, which of course becomes more. So between all that, age, ceiling, fit, price, I think it's an easy option. It's Nico Williams. Triple X says this crop of Barca players are ridiculously good. Balde, Covarci, Fermin, Casado, Bernal, and the two generational players, Yamal and Pedri. Adding signings will unleash the full potential of this squad. I agree 100%. I think it's like I said during yesterday's post-match live analysis. I said I think we need someone a little bit better up front because we need someone to take the weight off Lamine, right? Because Lamine is the only one up front that can win 1v1s, that can dribble, that can create space with his dribbling, and we don't have anyone else who could do that. So we need someone to share that load with him. He cannot be carrying the whole attack on his back, and we need someone that can do that too. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Rafinha is absolutely amazing when he has space. He's really good at running to space behind to the backs of the center backs. But when the defense is compact, when the other team parks the bus, we need someone that can help Lamine unlock that tight block through dribbling. And right now, Lamine is the only one who's doing that. And we cannot put the full responsibility on a 17-year-old kid to carry out the attack or to lead the attack or to be able to unlock defenses on his own. We need someone that can help him with that. And of course, we need a replacement for Lewandowski. I mean, he's 36. He's going to be 37 this summer. And of course, we need someone for the fullbacks that can give rest to Balde and Kunde. And I think with those signings, we are set. We are set, at least for a while. Unathi says, good morning, Mo. Flick brought jubilation and excitement to us. Hopefully, he can sign players that he wishes. Hopefully, but don't hold your breaths. Barcelona's not going to go out there and sign 5-10 players. It's just not going to happen. We don't have the money. We don't have the financial fair play. So, don't think it's going to be like a summer full of signings. But anyways, speaking of signings, let's talk about next segment of news because, ladies and gentlemen, it's reported that Hansi Flick has called Jonathan Tah. Now, to sum up what's going on with Jonathan Tah, I'm sure a lot of you know it, but if you're new to the channel or if you skip those videos about Jonathan Tah because you're like, I don't care about Jonathan Tah, well, let me sum it up. Jonathan Tah, of course, his contract expires at the end of the season, which is only a few weeks away. He has decided not to renew with Bayer Leverkusen, so he will become a free agent. And of course, Barcelona are always in the market for free agents, given our financial situation and our financial fair play. And Barcelona reached out to him, and it looked like, well, he was very close to coming. In fact, Barcelona reached a pre-agreement with the player so he can join the club in this summer as a free agent. But then we had the whole thing with Araujo, who decided to extend his contract. And then all of a sudden, Barcelona were like, all right, hold on. We have a lot of center backs. I don't know if we can sign Jonathan Tah. So they told pretty much Jonathan Tah through his agent, be like, look, we're interested in you. However, we have to wait until the summer to see what's going to happen with our center backs. Is Araujo going to stay? Or is he going to decide to activate his exit clause and leave for 65 million? Right? We didn't know what was going to happen with Christensen. Was he going to stay or leave? Now it looks like Christensen wants to stay. He wants to fight for his spot. He wants to prove himself in these last two matches. Then we had Eddie Garcia, who seemed on his way out too. And all of a sudden, Flick is like, hold on. No, I can use him. And now Eddie Garcia has become a very important player for Flick as well. So all of a sudden, we're stuck with 5 center backs, right? We have Coarci, Inigo, Eric, Araujo, and Christensen. So Barcelona was like, all right, let's wait until the summer. Let's figure out if someone leaves, then we'll make the signing. But of course, Jonathan Tah cannot sit around forever and wait for Barcelona to make up its mind. So he has already started negotiating with other clubs, with Bayern Munich being one of the most interested players. And Jonathan Tah announcing last week that he's going to be announcing what club he'll be headed to pretty soon, which pretty soon, of course, is not good enough for Barcelona because, again, they have to wait until the summer. So it looks like Hansi Flick, who is very interested in signing Jonathan Tah, actually called the player, said, look, man, I understand you're in a hurry. Please, just give us a little more time. Let us figure out what's going on so we can see if we can sign you or not. Now, of course, whether the player waits or not, that's a whole nother story. But the news is that Flick has called Tah and asked for more time to see what's going to happen. Of course, my question to you is, do you think any center backs are going to leave? And if so, who it's going to be? My feeling is that Araujo could be on his way out. But now that we won La Liga title, it's going to be very difficult for players to want to leave because who wants to leave a team that just won 3 trophies and you were part of that? Well, let me know in the comment section or in the chat section. What do you think, if anyone's going to leave, and who that might be? Abbas says, this is my 9th trophy as a Barca fan since I started supporting the club in 2018. 7 years now. Congratulations to me. Yes, my friend. Congratulations to you. And Ozzy Blaz says, Lamine Yamal is slowly turning into Arjen Robben, except Yamal is a better dribbler. I see more similarities between Lamine and Neymar. You just have, different sides, I guess. Or I guess Neymar is right-footed and Lamine is left-footed. But besides that, I see a lot more similarities between Lamine and Neymar than I do with Arjen Robben. The Matrix, who's always in the chat section, says, no, Felix is a waste of time. I'd rather keep Ansu instead of buying Felix. I think they both are. Here we have Felix, who's incredibly talented, but unfortunately has zero motivation and zero mental commitment. I don't know what you want to call it, but no, Joao Felix. Even if they offered Joao Felix for free, I would rather say no and not have someone than have Joao Felix. And as far as Ansu, unfortunately, he's just not in the right mental space to compete. We've seen it. Obviously, he still has the talent, even though I believe Joao Felix obviously a lot more talented than Ansu. But I think all those injuries, surgeries have left him scarred. So neither, honestly. Joshua says Barcelona have to do something about the high line. I know Espanyol yesterday beat the tactics several times with runs from midfield, and the player Barca are trying to leave offside won't make a move. Here's what I'll say, and I'll said it a million times before, but I'll say it in a different way, I guess. The high line is what just gave you 3 trophies. So what do you want to change about it? You want to go back to how we were playing against Xavi? Just think about that, because people are quick to complain about things, but let's not forget, this is the playbook they just gave you, the 3 trophies that you're celebrating. So what exactly you want to change? Let me know, because again, this playbook just gave you 3 trophies, 3 minutes away from giving it a 4th one. But anyways, all right, let's see. Ganyu says Felix is good but is lazy. Yeah, very talented player, but unfortunately, just I don't know if he thinks he's too good to try, and it's a shame, because with his talent, he could have easily been one of the best players in the world. But he just, on the field, he just seems so unmotivated, like no intensity, like I'm too good to be here. Why am I here? I should be playing with the gods in heaven. Like, I don't know what his problem is, but it's a shame, right? It's like that movie, a Bronx Tale, right? The famous quote was, nothing sadder in the world than wasted talent. And that pretty much sums up Joao Felix's career up to this point. And I say up to this point because, of course, we never know. Maybe tomorrow he wakes up and he decides, okay, time to get my shit together. I don't know. But definitely sad what we've seen with Joao Felix, because he looked so promising when he was at Benfica, and it's kind of nowhere, right? He's failed everywhere. He's failed at Atletico Madrid. He failed at Barca. He failed at Chelsea twice. He's failing now at AC Milan. It's sad. And Santiago Sturba says Barcelona and the Spanish national team sharing their core players has worked wonders for both in the past. Yes, 100% agree. It worked in that amazing run that they had where they won the Euros, World Cup Euros. And now they just won the Euros. Who knows? They could be contenders for the World Cup in 2026. I think they're probably favorites for the World Cup 2026. And yeah, it's always been, Barcelona at the core. We'll see if they can repeat it again. But all right, let's do the last bit of news. Speaking of repeats, because Laporta had some pretty brazen announcement. One of them, at least, which is that he will be a candidate for the 2026 Barcelona presidential elections. Now, this is what Jean Laporta first said about Hansi Flick, and then we'll review his statements about running for election. But he said, we are very happy with the work Hansi is doing. He has been able to redirect the situation and recover the team's competitive spirit. We have already talked about it. Deco will finish it, and shortly we will make his renewal official. I attribute a very high percentage of the team's success to him. He has rigor, discipline, mental strength, special sensitivity. He has made everyone feel in important. So John Laporta, of course, confirming what we've been talking about on this channel for a few weeks now, is that Hansi Flick's renewal is, well, pretty much is done. The only thing it's pending is announcement, and I'm guessing if I had to take a guess or I had to bet on it, the announcement should be coming pretty soon because, of course, Flick always made it from very clear from the beginning that as long as the season is ongoing, he wasn't going to be talking about renewals because, of course, his full focus was on the season. But now that the season is over, I mean, not technically, we still have 2 more matches, but you know what I mean. We've already won all the trophies that we could win, except for the Champions League, which we're already knocked out. My guess is that his contract renewal will be announced by maybe next week. Who knows? Maybe this weekend. But I'm pretty sure that announcement is coming. So, and John Laporta, of course, confirming that, yes, the renewal is happening. And all thanks to what Flick has been able to do with this team, which John Laporta also recognizes during his statement because, you know, it honestly is thanks to Hansi Flick. Because let's not forget, this was the same exact squad that we had last season. The only difference is Gundogan for Dani Olmo, or Dani Olmo for Gundogan, I should say, which it didn't even make that much a difference because Dani Olmo ended up spending half of the season injured. This is the same exact squad, and yet 2 different results. What's the common denominator? Hansi Dieter Flick. He's the common denominator. He's the one who's been able to completely transform this team. And as a result, he's, of course, won himself a very, very well-deserved contract renewal. Unfortunately, it's only going to be until 2027 because, of course, Flick has always made it clear from the beginning that he wants to go season by season. You know, he wants to do well, and if he does well, extend for another season. He doesn't want to, you know, sign 5-year contract and then 2 years through it, oh, now he's failing, and then everybody wants to kill him and hang him, kind of like what's happening with Pep, where he renewed, and literally the first year of his renewal, Manchester City crashed and burned. So he doesn't want that. Plus, he is 60 years old, and he doesn't want to be a coach forever. He wants to eventually retire, spend time with his family. So for now, his contract renewal will only be until 2027. So 2 more seasons or 1 more season added to his original contract, which expired in 2026. And while Laporta confirming that news, and then Laporta dropping a bombshell, which is that he will be running again in 2026 as Barcelona presidential candidate, saying let me change the slide. There we go. We have saved the club, and this project deserves to continue. And then was asked, are you going to run in the 2026 election? And Laporta said, yes, of course. I see that we've achieved the results we wanted, and we are working very well. Think about where we came from and where we are. So, of course, John Laporta capitalizing on the team's success by announcing that he will be running in the 2026 presidential elections. And honestly, at this point, I just don't see anyone being able to challenge him. So if obviously which he will, because he just announced it, but if he follows through on his promise and runs in the 2026 election, I think he pretty much has that seat guaranteed that he will be president for another 5 years. Now, the only thing I do ask of John Laporta, because I think he's had a little bit of a mixed presidency where during the first half of it, I think he did wonders for the club, from reducing the expenses all across the board in order to help Barcelona stay financially viable, from increasing Barcelona's profits astronomically by signing all kinds of new sponsorships, 30 plus sponsorships, including the Spotify deal, by pushing through the Spotify Camp Nou renovation, which is absolutely a miracle because at the time, all the investors were like, doubtful. They're like, how are we going to spend 2 billion euro or 1.2 billion euro on a stadium for a club that's financially struggling? And somehow, some way, he was able to convince them. So doing all that, being able to sign players despite not having money for financial fair play, I think that was a very, very great things that Laporta did. But then once his most important members of his board started like resigning, I think from there we kind of started seeing a little bit of cracks in his presidency. From improvisation to having family and friends working at the club with no official status, but they were there. And there was a lot of improvisation, right? All the lies about the Spotify Camp Nou, when it's going to be opened, the Nike deal, which we still don't know what the details are, from the dubious commissions, like the 50 million euro commission for the Nike deal, to the whole Dani Olmo, Pau Victor. So it's going to be a little bit of a mixed bag where he's done really, really great things at the beginning. And then towards the second half, it's been not so great. So the only thing I ask of Laporta is if he does run for president and wins, is not to become complacent. And I say this because we've already been down through this road, right? Bartomeu, when he becomes president after Roseo resigns, he wasn't doing that great. But what happens is Luis Enrique wins the treble with the MSN. And because the team's success, the socios all voted for Bartomeu again. And they ignored the signs. And what happens is that, well, Bartomeu ends up crashing this club to the ground. Before that, it happened in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s with Gaspar. Same thing. Wasn't doing really great. The team has a really good season. So he wins re-election. And, well, continues the downhill trajectory of the club. So the only thing I ask of Laporta is if he does win the election again is not to become complacent, to continue doing a great job, to continue managing the club well. And for the fans, what I ask of them is to stay vigilant. Because let's not repeat the mistakes of the past, where just because we won a treble with the MSN, we turned a blind eye to what Bartomeu was doing, and we let him do everything that he did. Let's not do the same here. Now, I'm not saying Laporta is going to be like Bartomeu, but people surprise you. So let's stay vigilant. We're happy with what Laporta has done so far, but let's not forget to keep staying vigilant just because the team is being successful on the field. Because success in the field doesn't necessarily mean success in the high offices. Anyways, that is all the news for this podcast. Let's do a few more comments and then we will end it because it's Friday, ladies and gentlemen. We got to celebrate. It's the weekend. Let's see. Herjan says, I don't know about it, Mo, but it's starting to get frustrating when teams like Madrid and Liverpool already having transfers. Hope Deco speeds up his plans. Look, what other teams do or don't do, it's none of our business. Like Johan Cruyff always said, and like Flick has repeated throughout his press conferences, and like I've always said a million times on my videos, is the only thing you can focus on is the things you can control. What can you control is your signings, your players, your performance, your identity, right? Everything else that you can't focus on, or you can't control, I should say, we shouldn't focus on. Referees, what other teams are doing on signing. So whatever other teams do, I don't really care. What we need to focus on is what we can control, which is our team's performance. And that's what we should be focused on, not whether Liverpool is making signings or whether Madrid is making signings. Remember, in the summer, they told us that this season was over before it even began. I mean, they had just won La Liga and the Champions with Vinicius, Bellingham, and Rodrigo, and now they have brought in Mbappe. So they're definitely going to win it all. They were going to win a sextuple in September before the season even started. And look what happened. They haven't won anything. So what other teams do, I don't really care. And we do have a donation, Polish Power, who says, much love, Mo, from Australia. Visca Barca, my friend. Thank you so much for your donation and for your generosity. I'm just curious, what time is it in Australia? Please let me know because I'm very, very curious. And Lamin says, Mo, we have to work on the transfer left wing, striker, right back, and maybe we saw Araujo and bring in Tah. Deco seemed to be lazy on transfer something. It's not that it's lazy. We don't have money, you know. If I tell you, hey, my friend, I have a Ferrari for you that I want to sell it to you. And you say, well, I can't afford a Ferrari. And I'm like, well, that's because you're lazy. Does that really make sense? It's not laziness. There's just no money. And if there's no money, who are we going to sign? Amirul says, why not just go for cheap option for the left wing? Someone like Elise Ben Sarir, I mean, because this is Barcelona, my friend. And we don't just bring some average players just because we need to bring someone. If we can't bring someone that can make a difference and they can be up to par to Barcelona standards, then it's better not to bring anyone. Akshay says about Real Madrid, they were unconvincing for 4.5 years now. They just got lucky in Champions League. People trying to make Kroos some Zidane, like his absence caused this. Barca's downfall did not happen overnight. I mean, look, I'm not going to take away anything from Kroos. The departure of Toni Kroos was a huge blow for Madrid. The same thing with the butcher, Casemiro, because that was the base of their team. Modric, Kroos, Casemiro, and then two out of those three left, and the only one who stayed, Modric, is 100 years old. So that definitely did affect them. I'm not going to say it didn't affect them at all. I think it'd be very ingenuous to say that. But Yeah, they have been inconvincing for a while. But I mean, that's the difference, right, between Madrid and Barcelona. And that's what I've always explained before, like what the Barca DNA is. Because when you ask people what the Barca DNA is, they always give you things like, oh, tiki taka, short passes, high possession. And it's none of that, right? Barca DNA can be summed up pretty simply. It's not just about winning, it's how you win, which is by playing entertaining football, right? That's the Barcelona. For Real Madrid, it's different. For Real Madrid, their philosophy is win no matter at what cost. Whether it's parking the bus and defending with 11 players for 89 minutes and then scoring a goal at the 90th minute or whatever it may be. And that's, I think, the difference between the two. Do not touch that. I asked you last year, now this year again. Last year was Lamine. Whose jersey should I buy this year? I mean, look, Lamine had a different number last season. This season he had what number was he? 31? Yeah, right. And now he's 19. So technically you could buy Lamine's again. So you can have, both numbers. And I'm sure he's going to be the 10 next year. And then you can buy it again next year and you can have all his 3 numbers. But if I was you, I would buy Pedri's. Because like I've said many times before, I think Rafinha has been our best performing player. Lamine has been our most talented player. But to me, the most important player is Pedri. Because without Pedri, I think this season would have looked a lot more different. So I would do Pedri. I'm actually due for a Pedri jersey. I have his jersey when he was the number 16. I definitely need a number 8. So maybe that's the one I'll buy. But I haven't been able to find him anywhere. They're always sold out. But if you find him somewhere, let me know. And Al Best, as you heard Mo, they're average. I don't even think Mo know them. So chill, bro. I guess I don't. Anyways, thank you all for watching, for your likes, comments, subscriptions, and your generous donations. If you haven't hit the like button yet, make sure you do. If you haven't commented yet, make sure you do. If you haven't subscribed yet, also make sure you do. I will see you tomorrow. There are no more videos for tonight. Not a lot of news because, of course, the team was too busy celebrating. But I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night. And as always, peace, Barça.